In the last section, we started up our docker compose up command. That is now going to start up our single container, and it's going to set up two different volume mounts inside of it. One to kind of bookmark or hold on to the reference to node modules locally inside the container, and the other to map up all of our source code files on our local machine into the container's app directory. I now see the successful startup message from Docker Compose, so I should now be able to flip back over to my browser, refresh the app, and still see the app appear. I should also be able to open up my browser, my code editor, in the source app.js file and change the by there text again. So I'll say something like I was changed. And then if I save this, I can flip back over the browser and see that content appear. And of course, I can always refresh again and make sure that content is still there. Awesome. We've now set up the volume mounting system. There's one really interesting thing that I want to mention here. So like we've said a couple times, by setting up that volume mount, anytime that the Docker container looks into the app folder, it's essentially going to get a reference back to all these local files we have on our machine. And so a question that you might be asking yourself is, inside of our Docker file, do we still have to execute this copy step right here? Because we're essentially saying copy everything over into that app directory, but then anytime that the Docker container tries to look into that app directory, actually go back to the local machine that the container is running on. So in truth, we could probably get away with deleting the copy line right here. We would still want to copy over the package.json file because we do have to run npm install to get our dependencies. But as far as all of our source code goes that gets copied over the copy instruction, well, we might be able to do away without that. Now, for me personally, I would choose to leave this instruction in, and here's why. At the end of the day, we're making use of Docker Compose to solve all this kind of volume mounting stuff and all this issues with getting all of our source code over. But at some point in time in the future, you might decide to no longer make use of Docker Compose. Or alternatively, you might decide to use this Docker file right here as inspiration to set up your production Docker file. In either case, you would definitely still need to have this copy instruction right here. You would definitely need to still have the copy instruction to copy over all of your source code. And so even though it's not strictly necessary for what we're doing right now, I would probably still leave it in there kind of as a reminder or a reference for myself in the future. All right, so that's pretty much it. We have solved everything we need to solve with running our React application in a development environment inside of a Docker container. We still have a lot of work to do, however, so let's take a quick pause and continue in the next section.